Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Travel Coach Network podcast. It is I, Sahara Rose DeVore, the founder of the Travel Coach Network and the creator and instructor of the Travel Coach Certification Program. Today, we have Amy Flores-Young, also known as Flo-Yo. She is a sought-after retreat concierge and travel specialist, specializing in supporting coaches and leaders in hosting transformational experiences for their clients so that they can profit more, stress less, and deepen their client relationships. She merges her 25 years expertise and her passion for travel planning with powerful retreat business strategies. She is also versed in planning travel for those with chronic health needs and disabilities. Amy is a parent of a medically complex child, now adult, and has been a disability advocate for over 20 years on mission to ensure everyone builds magical travel memories. Amy, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Me too. This is lovely. It's so great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with, tell us, where did your love of travel stem from in the first place?
I was not an avid traveler as a young person. It really came on more into adulthood, but really the true understanding of how transformational travel really is, and especially in building relationships through those shared experiences, came once my children were born. And they both have medical needs, and living in a medical home, for lack of a better way to say it, does not build a typical parent-child, sibling-to-sibling type relationship, regardless of what that looks like to you. But there's obviously lots going on, lots of people in and out, lots of equipment in and out, all of those things. So our family, in a lot of ways, kind of got split, with me handling most of the medical equipment care needs, and then my husband doing more of the social, sports, school things with my son. So it was almost like, two halves creating a whole. And when we would travel, that's when, as a whole, we were all together. All of the routines, and not that the disability goes away, but all of the pressure of that goes away. And it truly is in those experiences that we shared that built our family relationship, and our family dynamic. And I feel that that's what has kept us together and as strong and dynamic as a family as we are. It was through those travel experiences. My children are now adults, and when they meet somebody new, or we bring somebody kind of new into the fold, the first thing that happens is they get out the scrapbooks and we talk about the trips. And so it's like I kind of have that qualitative data that's important to them as well. And that's really what, like I said, has built our family. And I wanted to share all of that with other families who don't get that experience.
Yeah, that's really powerful. That shows just how impactful travel can be. And I think it's really inspiring. And that's why I really wanted to have you as a guest on this podcast, because I know that there's a whole world of parents out there or caretakers out there, of whether it's a family member or, even someone with a chronic illness or disability themselves, feel like travel is something that's so far out of reach for them. It's not attainable. It's not possible, not only because maybe financially travel has a misconception of being far too expensive, but also just the physicality of traveling, the planning phase of traveling, everything is like that too. But I think it's so important for those people, those families, those parents to hear what you're talking about, because it gives that light of inspiration and hope that they may not have heard elsewhere or seen has been possible for them too. So your family is such a inspiration out there. And I love being able to help you spread the word about that, because travel is such a powerful tool.
Yeah, I once heard at one of the many, parent and provider conferences that I was at, one of the speakers said, and it's resonated with me for 20 years. She said, it takes an extraordinary effort to have an ordinary day when you have someone with chronic needs in your family, or, you know, that you're caregiving for. In that thought is, yes, again, I understand the day-to-day juggling and balance. So I understand that it's hard for people to think beyond that kind of survival of managing day to day. So they don't think about travel. They don't think, never mind wishing and hoping, like it doesn't even come into the sphere. And as you were talking about financially, I always worked nonprofit prior to starting travel. My husband currently still works nonprofit. So we joke that, like, well, we don't know what real money is because we both have had full nonprofit careers. So it's not that we came from, like you were saying, financially, it's not that we came from this high socioeconomic place where travel was just a given. We prioritized it and planned for it because it was that important to us.
Yeah, absolutely. What is it, do you think, about travel that holds the value for your family? Anything in particular comes to mind?
With my family, especially, I think because my daughter's disability is very severe, so very physically disabled. Honestly, material goods in that are a challenge, you know. So we always utilized travel as a gift and approached it in that way, like travel is a gift metaphorically, and travel, it was a gift literally. Like, so we spent our holidays and our time, like I said, very intentionally out of our everyday realm, again, to not only, like I said, I think it was so important to show, like, it resonated with them to see that there's more out there and that they truly are a smaller piece, right? The smaller fish in the bigger pond. But I think being in a medically complex home, there was already that understanding of really understanding the difference between the big things and the little things on that philosophical level. And because we started traveling and doing all of that when they were so young, it really just has become such a part of who they are.
Yeah. Are there any particular types of experiences or places your children really love? Is there something in particular they are gravitated towards? Like, I know for me, I gravitate towards bodies of water, beautiful scenery, being in nature.
Yeah.
I love animals, the colors of like the artifacts when you go to certain countries, all the colorful clothing, that draws me. Anything in particular for your kids?
Well, the biggest thing that, even though we're all adults now, we still are big Disney nerds. We still go to, like, that was obviously like one of our first trips. But, and that just holds a special, I know some people are Disney and some people will never go to Disney, and I totally get that. And I think it's understanding what you're looking for from those experiences. But for my family and my children, obviously the international trips have been, I don't want to say like the most enlightening in a way, obviously, because they understand bigger, like I said, that bigger picture. But for them, it really isn't anything in particular. Like you said, every experience has really had its own special place. And whether it's been an all-inclusive resort, which is obviously very different than, you know, travel through northern, more rural Italy, you know, or like say, or going to Disney, like they all have a very different vibe to them. And we talk about that and what's next and what are you guys interested in? And that's part of it too, is it became that common thread and that common conversation that we could start, you know, it was a way to connect to each other to start, and that led to obviously bigger and better conversations.
Yeah, no, I love that. But yeah, you're so right. Everywhere is just so different. I know when people ask me, what's your favorite country you've been to? And I've been to so many. I'm like, that's a hard because
Yeah.
they all are so different and so good in so many for different reasons, right?
Yep.
Do you have a couple tips, like maybe 3 tips, 2 tips that you would recommend to parents to think about if they, with children with disabilities or chronic health issues?
Mm-hmm. I work with obviously families with children, but it's also interesting that when you think of, travel with health needs, it's not the quote unquote, make-a-wish kid in a wheelchair type of a thing. Or I work with a lot of stroke recovery, multi-generational, that, the grandparents, the adults and the children, obviously they don't have the same mobility and stamina. They might not have necessarily a chronic need,
Right.
but understanding that they don't use a walker day to day, but if we're going on a river cruise and we're going to be walking and get, like, maybe we do need some ambulatory support, or maybe we need to look. So I do a lot of the itinerary of how do we make sure everybody gets to be included in part of the itinerary without necessarily having to all do the same thing all the time, right? Because everybody's needs are different. So that's really what it is I would say the tip is, just because somebody else loved it doesn't mean you're going to love it. And we have to make sure it's a fit for your expectations and your family. And I think that's a lot of it too, is when I work with clients, it's setting the expectation. So they just understand why I really got into the travel niche of it. There's a lot of things we could have done in disability, but the travel pieces, I would hear all of these, oh my God, it was horrible. Oh my, and travel's an investment, like you said, and I get it. And I was like, oh, it didn't need to be that difficult. They didn't know what to ask for. They didn't know what was available. They didn't know that they could have stayed here instead of here, and it would have changed the whole dynamic in walking distance of their trip, or, those types of little things. So I think the tip is use a planner who can just make sure you're clear on what it's going to look like and how that's going to be set up for you, whether it's, like I said, physical needs, dietary needs, sensory, behavioral triggers. I work with a lot of veterans with PTSD, and obviously children and adults with autism. Like I said, everyone has a different need. And that's why I say, so it's not, everybody says, well, what's the best place to go with a disability? Kind of like they say, what's the best country you've ever been to?
Yeah.
Well, that truly depends on what you want and what their needs are, because disability is everything.
Yeah. It's hard to, you can really go to a wide range of places with a disability, but it depends on your needs, like you said. Do you work on any like mindset work or the coaching aspect when it comes to the families with children with chronic health or disabilities too, to help them break down those limiting beliefs sometimes?
Right. I think it's indirect, and that comes from my social work, caseworker days of kind of knowing the questions to ask to get them to look at something that maybe they haven't seen.
Yeah.
Right. Without saying, well, why didn't you think about this? Or have you, I kind of say, well, take me through your regular day. What does that look like? Where do you, instead of thinking of like, where are the roadblocks? Where are the, we kind of do it from like a strength-based conversation. Like I said, that comes from my case manager days. But yeah, that strength-based conversation of, when is the family happiest? Or, what is the individual, are they better in the morning? Are they better in the afternoon? And looking at what that day will look like, so I can, in conversation, give them a vision of what it would look like. And then they can get excited about it and see that it will work. So they start going into it with like that open and excited mind versus that nervous and anxious mind.
Yeah. I can only imagine what goes through their head, especially if they haven't traveled often, right? But then just knowing on the flip side of it, just how meaningful this experience could be, just like how travel has done for you and your family as well, right? Yeah. But I love that you want to help other families have something similar and experience that similar feeling and stuff, because the hardships of having a family and lifestyle like that too. So let's talk more about retreats now. You are a retreat concierge. How did you get started in that?
That's where all the mindset work comes in, honestly, is with my retreat clients. It again, similar of as the networks grew and as I, as a small business owner myself, I was meeting more small business owners, coaches, speakers, consultants, service-based professionals. In the same thing, seeing events that weren't great, that were very cookie cutter. People running retreat, again, retreat business is a multi-billion-dollar business. Seeing people offer retreats and programs but then we would have a conversation and they're not making revenue. Like, because most people in a service-based business are givers, educators, servers, right? So they don't value, not that they don't, but it can be, again, a mindset piece of valuing what you're bringing to the table. So I kind of, again, take that business strategy from all of my executive time and blend it with travel to see how you can really incorporate whatever you call it, retreats, summits, masterminds, travel as a revenue stream into your business, not just a one and done, not just a once a year, but how to strategically make it work with your offer and your content and everything else you already do.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really important. And I like that you you went into this route because of common problems you saw. And that's something that that's how I got started as a travel coach. And then that's also why I started the Travel Coach Network, because I found a void in the industry and I saw common problems in the industry. And I always try to inspire those in my Travel Coach Network to think outside the box and, take a grander look at everything in the industry that you're interested in, whether it's wellness, sustainability, whatever it might be, and find those voids and shortages, those problems that exist and create a solution for it or create something better for it, right? Too many times people want something already done and proven before, but I'm like, create it yourself. You be the leader in that. So I love that you are doing that because there's such a need for that. Absolutely. Yeah. Running the network, I not only work with different types of travel coaches and travel professionals and, people who run summits and masterminds and conferences. And I've been a speaker at many of them. It is a huge industry and it is such a disservice if you're going to put your time and energy into something and not make a return on investment for that.
Yeah. And it's also I'm all about the joy and alignment and intentionality of your business. So as much as you can, call the venues, review the contracts, negotiate all the bits and pieces of that. Mm-hmm. When I come on and start to partner with a client, it's usually like, great, I do all that. And now it's getting them to realize oh, so now I can truly focus on kind of the message to the community and get it sold. You know what I mean? So many, that's what I would see too, is even those large scale conference type events, right? It was always I don't want to say a struggle to sell the tickets, but that's always right. You can build the best event, but if you don't message it right, nobody's going to know about it. So I kind of come in and say, imagine we handle everything, not just the event, not just the travel, not just the budget and strategy. We really come in with all pieces of that. All you have to do is connect to your people and share your message. Yeah. And it saves you whatever those hundreds of hours on the planning end. So that's, like I said, that's a lot where we do the kind of mind shift, or people say, I've outgrown this. I can't manage all this by myself, and the registrations and and my biggest one, it really started, one of my biggest pet peeves is, great, we start Thursday at 4, see you there. Which is very common, right? Mm-hmm. In the retreat conference space, which I get it. We're all adults. We can figure it out. But most of the people I work with are going for that transformational container type experience. So why aren't we taking care of our clients door to door? And it doesn't mean they're not grown-ups booking their own stuff, but just say, you know, that's what they say. As a participant, feel free to contact our travel concierge, Amy, for any question, you know, so they just feel supported and valued as a client. And that's a, you know, it's a very minor add-on that creates such a difference in the experience. So we really work to make it an experience and not an event.
Yeah. You mentioned having the right message to connect with the right audience. How important is that? And why do you believe so deeply in that? Obviously, I'm saying this because I tell those in my network all the time, you have to know exactly who you're speaking to. And you have to, what I say is speak their language so that you're not always chasing clients and then they come to you instead. Can you speak on that a little?
Yeah. So a few of my favorite taglines and mantras that I share in the travel world in general, and then I'll talk about the retreat piece specifically, but is, you don't need me to book your crappy vacation. Like, right? Like if you don't, honestly, like, right, we all know there's a lot of resources out there, and are we all thrilled to help you with that and make a commission or whatever? Great. But those aren't the people I typically serve, right? Like if you know what you want, you can find, great, go do it. You don't need a planner. I don't, and I'm one of, like, again, I really want travel professionals to say, we don't sell travel, right? We sell our service. It's a service and it's a knowledge. We don't sell travel. Like,
I love that. I say that all the time.
Yeah, I work at, like, that's how I think is, like I said, I'm not booking your Expedia package or whatever you think you found. That was a deal. Like, that's not what we do. And a big thing is with the messaging piece is everybody says, well, do you do the marketing? Do you do our marketing? And I can't do your marketing because then they're coming from me. Right. And that's what I say. And people who want to do, I get a lot of people who think they're going to be able to cold sell a retreat because they've seen it out there. And I say, honestly, those aren't the people I work with either. You need to have a clear vision, a clear intention, a clear client community. Because if you think I'm going to build this and people are just going to come in droves to it, people are not going to, not that they won't, that's a generalization, but very few people will cold book. Oh, I saw it online and I'm booking it with no relation to you to go overnight with and travel with you somewhere. Right? Like it's a very, that's the difference between a retreat and a group tour. And so what are you offering?
Yeah.
So that's what we talk a lot about, the messaging and marketing is. And I have partners and collaborators that I refer to when someone comes and they're like, well, the first conversation we have isn't where do you want it? How many people? Like, yes, but it's what are the outcomes you're looking to bring? Mm-hmm. Is this a lead gen? Is it for already existing clients? Is it a blend? Because that changes how you deliver your content. So we work through, that's what I'm saying, like all of the back end, not just the location and the travel piece. If they can't answer those questions, then I was like, why don't you talk to my friend who's a coach over here? Because I don't think you're ready to invest in this level of event yet.
Absolutely. Those I work with in my certification program too, I always say people want to do the pretty things in their business first. It's so fun. Let's plan the date, the destination, what we're going to do, what we're going to eat, when it comes to a retreat or in-person experience. But in business, people want to create their website. They want to create PDFs that they're going to one day give their coaching clients. I'm like, but have you created this solid foundation for your business? Do you know your core messages? Do you know your ideal audience are? Do you know their pain points? And like you said, we don't sell experiences. We're selling a transformation, an outcome, a solution, a feeling. That's what people buy. They want to feel something different. And that's why they're investing their time and money into you. And that's why people buy products, get diet pills. Like they're not buying the actual
emotional
product.
Connection. Exactly.
It's based on emotion. And it blows my mind how many business owners, especially in the world of travel, which is so personal, completely miss the mark on all of that. You know, and so I love that you help your clients with that, and you recognize that too in your businesses. As we wrap up here, do you have a fun fact about yourself you like to share? It doesn't have to be business or travel related.
Besides being a big, obviously Disney fan, and Disney nerd, I'm also, no shock here, I'm basically like a 13-year-old. I'm a huge Doctor Who. We call ourselves Whovians. For those who know, those who don't, right? But big Doctor Who, Harry Potter, sci-fi fan. So that's, we do have a few like nerd trips that we plan and go out together on.
That's fun. Yeah. Have you done like a Harry Potter themed trip at all?
Yeah, we're booking our next one for probably early February. It's adults only. We're going to do Universal. And do the whole VIP Wizarding World thing. And then we have another one coming up in the end of summer out to the UK to do the Warner Brothers tour and the train into Scotland, the Hogwarts Express.
Oh, how fun.
And the whole thing. Amazing. So yeah, so again, it's a way to, again, bring my fun, quirky things that we like to hang out in and bring the travel piece to it as well. But yeah, we're doing a huge Outlander Scotland trip for Outlander fans. So it's my nerd travel. That's like a whole other thing, is we build trips around hobbies and interests. Yeah.
I love that. I never heard that term before. Nerd travel.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I have to tell my best friend about it. She is a huge Harry Potter fan. Mm-hmm. So she'll definitely be interested in something like that. And where can our listeners learn more about what you do, follow you, find you online?
The easiest place to connect is my website, Amy, AMY, at ttravs. Oh, actually, we're not going to do that. Sorry, wrong one. The new website is Amy, I'm all confused. The email is amy@ttravs.com, but the website is it's FloYotravel.com. So FloYotravel.com, and on FloYo Travel, there are some retreat samples, agendas. They're in the biggest tool I tell people to start with on FloYotravel.com is the Retreat Profit Calculator. So it's a already formulated calculation tool that you can go in to see where your profitability will fall. And that's awesome. Really important.
Nice. Yes, I will put that link, in your website link, into the show notes for everyone to be able to follow you, find you, and download that calculator. Amy, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. You're really, truly inspirational. I really admire everything that you're doing. And for those who are interested in following the Travel Coach Network, you can find us on the Instagram at the Travel Coach Network and at thetravelcoachnetwork.com. We look forward to having you also in our free open TCN community on Facebook. You can find the links to that and the Beginner's Guide to Travel Coaching in the show notes also. And if you know anyone who might be interested in travel coaching, be sure to send them our way to our podcast. We truly appreciate it. And until next time, my fellow wanderers, bye for now.